We'll talk a little bit today about some of the changes that Google made over the course of last year and some of the expectations changes that we'll see in their UI for the rest of this year. So first of all, let's talk about what the importance of local. You've probably heard this a lot, but about 11 billion searches performed on Google just in a single month. Right, 20 to 30% of those are local in nature, so that's 2 to 3 billion local searches happening just with Google, not to mention the other search engines, on any given month. So needless to say, any business, whether you've got a single location or whether you've got 10,000 locations, you've got to make sure that your businesses are being found in local search results. So let's talk a little bit, if you can think way back when, to early 2010, right? That, I know it's a long time ago, but you remember this user interface on the search results, right? And I'm going to point out, we actually have one of our real clients that's here. So, Gym Appliance A, actually we've got 3 listings here, Gym Appliance A here, as well as 2 listings below. 2 of these organic listings are also from Gym Appliance. So 3 listings altogether for one of our real clients. But this is what it looked like, right? You had the map in the middle, you had the 7-pack, right, A through G, in the middle of the page. All right, then we had a change. In late 2010, the map moved over to the right rail, right? And we've got a little bit more room now in that center section. We still have what looks very much like the places listings with a little additional information, right? So there's now an address in there. Previously there wasn't room for an address. Now there's an address, a bit more information about reviews, etc. Right? And we can see, here's what's an interesting thing that happened with our real client. Gym Appliance went from having 3 listings on the first page down to only 2. Right? Algorithm changed. We're not exactly sure what all goes into Google's algorithm. We try to sort of reverse engineer it like everybody else does. But we actually still have good ranking for this client, but it's actually a little bit less than what we had before, right? So we're going to talk in a little bit. We're going to fast forward to just a search I did yesterday to see what we did for that client, right? We also have Google tags, right? So this, again, you can see with our client, right there, letter B, they use tags, right? And they use that to promote their 10% internet discount, right? So that it gets some additional visibility, additional traffic. So a lot of our clients use tags. Would recommend it. Certainly worth experimenting. If you're not using tags, you should at least experiment and see if it works for you and your clients. All right, now let's move to the integrated or the hybrid results. So yet another change, right, happening in very late 2010. The integrated results, right? So now you see listings that look a bit like organic listings, because in fact a lot of this data is being picked up from the website, a locally optimized website, in addition to data coming from the places listings. So the first one you can see there, the title and description, T&D, comes from the website. A lot of the content is also, or some content comes from Google Places, right? So the photo you see there is actually from Google Places, right? So it's a hybrid result actually in the listing itself, right? So that's one significant change. We're going to talk in a little bit about what the implication of that is. The other new addition recently has been Google Boost, right? So it's a really simplified version of AdWords, right? So from your Google Places account, you can actually set up Google Boost. So you see these blue sort of pin listings, the A and the B there in the top. Those are sponsored results, and those are the result of Boost, right? You can also see them on the map to the right. So again, it's certainly worth experimenting with. We're testing with a lot of our clients using Boost. In some cases, it's working very well. In other cases, not as well. But it's certainly worth testing with all of your clients where you think it's relevant for them. So again, yet something else for you all to consider, right? So whether you do this internally or whether you have a service provider to do this for you, it's an evolving landscape, right? And that'll continue to evolve, right? So it's sort of this so what, right? So some of the big changes that we saw, the old result in early 2010, right, really favored the places listings, right? They got prominent placement there in the search results page, and organic was usually lower. Now what we see is further complicating the challenge for local is that not only do you have to have a great places page, pin verified with great content, hopefully lots of good reviews, but you also need to be thinking about your website, and that website is locally optimized, because Google's now placing additional weight on the website itself, and when it can tie the website with the places page, and both of us have relevant content that is close proximity to the searcher and relevant, that's likely to get a high ranking. Right? So it really says, again, further complicates the challenge for all of us that are in local SEO. You've got to actually make sure your website is performing well in addition to getting pin verified listings in Google Places, along with Yahoo Local, Bing, all the other places that you want to be found. So I've only touched on a couple, right, of the sort of the destination sites we need to be thinking about. There's mobile, right? There's Yelp, there's Foursquare, there's check-ins. And I guess my message here, this is meant to sort of look like, hey, this is complicated, there's a lot going on here, because it is complicated, right? For all of you who've been in and around this for a period of time, you know that whether you're doing it in-house, whether you got an outside third party doing it for you, it continues to evolve. And again, I'd encourage you, either through in-house resources or through a third-party service provider, make sure that you are making your businesses found in all the relevant local destination sites as well as search engines. And that'll continue to change, right? So what's not shown here is in a few months' time, there's going to be a company that we never heard of that's going to come out of the blue and say, well, that's the next big thing. Right now it's Groupon, it's Foursquare. In 3 months' time, it's going to be something else. So again, thinking about the future, which really begins tomorrow or even sooner. Recommendations in terms of what I think we all need to be thinking about, certainly what we think about when we try to optimize our local business customers. Consolidate your data, make sure it's correct, particularly if you've got 100 locations, 1,000 locations. Make sure that it is consistent on every website, right? So that's a challenge, right? And that kind of leads to the next point. Make sure you've got a data distribution platform that makes it easy for you when you've got 10 out of your 100 locations that suddenly have some new information, new hours, let's say. You need a platform to plug that into, and that automatically then gets distributed across the web. Right? So that's what Local Splash does. That's what other companies can do. And you've got to be prepared to do that, to really stay on top of this, or to have internal resources that will do that themselves. And then continuing to assess performance and re-optimize every location. Right, and the new destinations, I don't know what the next new hot company is going to be, none of us probably do, but in a few months, in a few years, it's going to be a completely changed landscape, and you need to keep up with that. And now I want to go back to one of the things I mentioned earlier. So the algorithm changed back in 2010 for Gym Appliance. They went from 3 locations on page 1 down to 2. And now what we've done, this is again part of our service, and other companies do this too, we've got them back to 3 listings. So now there's still B, they still have their tags. And they've picked up, so here's what got added, and they've got a second listing here in organic, and then we've picked up a Yelp listing for them, which we created for them, that's now on page 1. So they're back to having 3 listings all on page 1, which is great. That's pretty good visibility for this particular client. So with that, I'm going to actually off mic, I'm going to open it up to any questions. If anyone wants to stop by and ask questions. We also